With us now, retired General Wesley Clark, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander and founder of Renew America Together. And General Ben Wiedemann was standing in Beirut in Lebanon. There is renewed concern over the fighting between Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Shia militia there, and Israel, with an intensified exchange of fire over the border there. There's a U.S. representative now traveling to the region to try to help mitigate this. I guess my question is, why do you believe Hezbollah has not launched a full-scale operation against Israel to date? What has kept them from making this an even more intense confrontation?
Well, I think two or three things, John, might be looked at here. First of all, they're cooking the frog slowly. So they're letting Israel struggle in Gaza as they gradually check out how Israel's going to respond, put the pressure on Israel, gradually escalate. It's a cautious strategy, but it's a strategy that they are pursuing because there's no restraint on them. And so they can get away with this. They'll take a few hits. The reports are they now have anti-aircraft weapons. They do have drones. They have more electronic warfare. So they're going to school on the Israeli responses, number one. Number two, they're tied closely to Iran. And I believe Iran either has nuclear weapons now or will have them shortly. And I think Iran's view on this is don't mess with Israel yet. Let us fix our nuclear posture, and then we've got deterrence against Israel in the region. So I think it's connected to the broader issue of Iran's nuclear posture.
General, again, over the weekend, the Israeli military announced, and I use that word because it really did, they came out and said there was going to be what they call a tactical pause around Rafah during daylight hours to allow aid in. And then ever since that announcement, they've been sort of explaining it away, trying to say, oh, this is not a ceasefire. Oh, this is only to let limited amounts of aid in, but the fighting will continue here. How do you explain what this actually means and the difficulty they've had explaining it?
Well, I hope it does mean that more aid comes in, but I think it is a political move to get the pressure off from the United States. The boat ramp, the ship ramp is not working that well. We've had to move it again. We know there are reports of imminent starvation. So politically, Israel wants to do something to get the pressure off. But at the same time, the reason they're walking it back is there's a lot of pressure from the right wing in Israel. It says, just finish the job. Get rid of these people. We don't care about the humanitarian situation in Gaza. It's a war. They started it. And so the Israeli government, its military, sort of balancing between these two forces. You can't really alienate the United States because the United States is providing military assistance, and President Biden's been fully in support of Israel. But on the other hand, President Biden has his own political considerations to worry about, and Israel, in one way or another, is trying to be somewhat sensitive to those.
General, what attainable military success over the coming weeks do you think the Israeli military could have in Gaza that would possibly change the status of peace negotiations? In other words, they say they continue to pressure Hamas, but what could they achieve that would change things?
It's really hard to make that assessment without actually seeing the intelligence picture, knowing what's being collected, knowing what the gaps might be, and knowing what other resources might be brought to bear. If you could eliminate the Hamas military leadership, which some people have jokingly said, or maybe it's not a joke, is 10 stories underground somewhere in the Rafah area, then you could perhaps say that you had been successful in this, and that would move things forward. Otherwise, what you're going to do is you're going to continue to put troops in. You're going to continue to respond to intelligence that you've got an enemy force here, you've got Hamas there, put some forces in there, see if you can bring them to the surface. Mass fires against them. Yes, there's going to be civilian casualties, but you got to move the war on. And that's not a very successful recipe. It hasn't proved successful yet. So it's really about getting the right intelligence to take out the leadership of Hamas. That's what's going to be required to really move it toward a ceasefire, in my view, John.
General Wesley Clark, great to see you this morning. Thank you very much.